Alrighty, folks, time for another new album review, and I'm being driven mercilessly into doing this one because every time I turn around, there's another Deep Purple album review. SPLAT, their 24th album. Oh, yeah. Every time I open YouTube, there's another review of a SPLAT on there, so I figure I got a hype sticker. Deep Purple rocking hard on their new masterpiece studio album, SPLAT. So yeah, I figure I need to get with everybody getting reviews out, I figure I better hurry up and get this one there before everybody gets sick of watching Deep Purple album reviews. Pretty good little packaging here. I like it. Might as well show the CD here. Alrighty. So yeah, we got Deep Purple SPLAT. It appears that Ian Gillan has been coming up with the names for all these recent albums. Second album with Simon McBride. 24th album with Ian Paice. 18th with Roger Glover. 17th with Ian Gillan. And the 7th with Don Airey. This comes 2 years after Equals One. I didn't add it up, but I think it's kind of in the area of around 53 minutes long, 13 tracks. So a very long album. Kicks off with the first single, Arrogant Boy. Good up-tempo number that's dominated by Airey's keyboards and Paice's driving drum beat. Airey's keyboards are going to be dominating this entire album. Airey keeps up the old school keyboard sound, rolling into the second single, Diablo. And aside from this mid-paced, slow interlude that comes out of nowhere and doesn't get revisited at all, so I don't know how it even made it into the song. It reminds me a lot of Rose's Cantina from Perpendicular. Nice guitar and keyboard interplay between Airey and McBride. Gillan sounds lyrically inspired on this album. He's really putting an emphasis on all of his lyrics in this on this album. The writer, next track kicks off with some more Airey noodling. This song appears to be about Gillan's strange picadillos found on his tour rider. Pretty straightforward mid-tempo track with Gillan's lyrics and a muted but tasty solo from McBride being the standouts on this number. McBride is, he doesn't get to shine as much as he did on Equals One, which is definitely a low point for the album, in my opinion. The Lunatic picks the pace back up again. This album, like almost every track, reminds me of the mid-pace tracks that you'd find on either Perpendicular or Abandon. Tonally, they're in that area to my ears. The Only Horse in Town is your next one. It settles back into that mid-paced range. Very Abandon era sounding song. Finally, you get to hear some of Glover's bass coming through. I don't know if his bass is tuned down on the album or if it's just that him and Paice are just so locked in together that they just blend as one. Sacred Land is a Celtic themed tune. It's just listed as Don Airey playing keyboards, but this sounds like it's a clavinet, which is a keyboard, but usually when they expand on keyboards into like piano, well, that's true too, because it just says keyboards and there's definite piano on here and organ on here, so maybe clavinet's just incorporated into the keyboard. that clavinet's soon joined by a crunchy guitar and bass with a pounding drum beat. Weirdly astral keyboard solo that's somehow followed by another two brief guitar solo from McBride. The Beating of Wings is your next one. It's a slowed down number. Um, One that's actually guitar riff driven on the album, whereas it seems like the vast majority of the songs on here are driven by the keyboard riff. Good guitar solo. It even has a hint of Billy Gibbons that I'm picking up in there, and I've picked up Billy Gibbons in McBride's playing before too. Unfortunately, not enough to make the song really that interesting. One of the weaker tracks on the album. Guilt Trip was the third single. Now, I only listened to Arrogant Boy and that's usually what I do. I usually listen to the first single once, decide whether I'm going to get the album or not, and then don't pay any attention to the other singles. So I never heard Diablo or Guilt Trip until the album came. Sorry, allergies still acting up. Yeah, so this was a third single. It opens with this orchestral piano before this surging guitar and marching drum kick the song into high gear. Gillan's using this layered vocal where he's singing aggressively in his own voice, his normal register, but then he's also overdubbed it with this probably like the highest register that he's able to attain these days. I don't think I've heard him use that vocal range on an album anyway, that I can remember, maybe since Abandoned Bloodsucker. But it sounds really good. I really like the way they did the vocals on that track. Then there's and the song is just cruising along, and then there's this totally unnecessary, like, jazzy breakdown where it seems like Airey had these piano parts laying around and they wanted to use them, and they just like threw them into the song. They could have easily been cut in half and let McBride cut loose with a fiery guitar solo to keep up the energy of the track. Scribbling Gibberish is your next one. This one has definitely a perpendicular sounding riff to it. Another good guitar solo that leaves you wanting, but another too brief solo. Playful keyboards and Gillan's lyrical wordplay bring Jessica's Bra, that's the name of the tune, along. It's got, if you listen to the lyrics, it's got Ian Gillan's weird double entendres and mixed up lyrics and wordplay in it. But finally, McBride gets to cut loose for a little bit, because any solos that he has had so far have been really brief and really muted. So he finally gets to cut loose on Jessica's Bra. Then Third Call comes next. It seems to be Ian Gillan singing about what was supposed to be a one-night stand, but she's calling him again, and he's trying to resist answering the phone, but finally on the third phone call he gives in. McBride gets another smoking solo on this one. And it's like, well, I'll get to it in the next one, because McBride gets another solo. So Third Call transitions immediately into a track called My New Movie, which may or may not be the result of Gillan answering the third call to his original one-night stand. Now, this one has maybe McBride's most smoking solo on the album. So here we get 3 tracks in a row with McBride getting to rip it up. So it's almost like they tried to make us forget how sparsely McBride was used in the first 9 tracks, and they're like, oh, you know what, we need to give McBride a few guitar solos here before the album ends. Then your title track closes out the album. You get a cool bass riff intro to this one, and then you get the rhythm section, bringing the swagger here with Paice on the drums. McBride gets another solo, although it is brief, but it's at least a definite guitar solo on this last one. So I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I think it's a little step down from Equals One. I think it definitely could have benefited from more Simon McBride and less Don Airey. Not taking away anything from Don Airey. I mean, he's fantastic on this album. He sounds great. But there's some songs where he gets maybe 3-4 keyboard solos in, and McBride has like one little muted 15, 20, 30-second rip on the guitar, and saying rip is an exaggeration. He doesn't really get to rip it up until the last quarter of the album. Diablo and Guilt Trippin' are probably my two favorite tracks on the album. Like I said, Airey's in fine form. He's all over the album. I would say the things that stand out the most on the album are Don Airey and Gillan's, not just his vocal delivery, but his lyrics too. I mean, he seems to have got a real fire in his belly on this album. It's a shame that fire couldn't have been accompanied with more McBride guitar solo, but I digress. Yeah, so it's a good album. I mean, and Ian Paice and Roger Glover right on time. Sound as a pound as they always are. Deep Purple, Splat, 8 out of 10. You guys have a good one.